staff of the ministry and the food bank put together a short program for this, and you will see no doubt in the program. But let me recognize a couple of elected officials who are here already, and one of them has to leave shortly. You know, they always have some engagements somewhere. So, because that's the way they serve the people, that this is the time, summertime, they have to meet people. So, our federal member of parliament from Don Valley East, in which this area falls into her constituency, Yasmin Ratans, Honorable Yasmin. I request Yasmin to say a few words and the presentation to make.
Thank you, Imam Patel. How are you doing? You're doing good, yes. As an imam, he probably has a good opportunity to talk, and I thought between the reverend and the imam, I didn't know who was going to take the mic. But you know.
That's why I give her the mic so quickly.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, as a member of parliament for this riding, Don Valley East, it has been my pleasure to serve and to actually have the pleasure of knowing you, Helen. I was member of parliament for Don Valley East when it was Don Valley East different, and you guys were Don Valley West, and we confused the living daylights out of everybody in October of 2015 because the ridings changed in 2014. Nobody knew who was what. But it's a good thing that Rob Oliphant and I are a tag team. So we go to each other's functions and we help you. But heard about all of the things that you do. It is so impressive, and you know you cannot retire, right? Because if you retire, somebody's going to give you voluntary leave. So instead of retiring, might as well re-volunteer with the ministry and re-volunteer with the food bank. And talking about the food bank, I'd like to acknowledge, my friend Rob Oliphant is here. I'd like to acknowledge the
friends and families who are all gathered here to give their time for Reverend Helena. And that is just what she is. That is why I said, if you want to know who Reverend Helena is, just look around this room, because she's always there for everyone. At this juncture, I'm going to call on the chairman of the board, Stu Hutchinson, to make his statement.
Has been a priest in the Anglican Communion for over 30 years, starting in Saskatchewan and coming here about 9 years ago. It's been an event-filled 9 years at the ministry for sure. When Helena came here, we were operating both the food bank and the ministry out of a small store in the plaza. And we were about to be evicted from there. So in short order, we had to find a place to live in the basement of this building. At the same time, the diocese was working towards putting some distance between themselves and ourselves so that we became a separate not-for-profit corporation from the diocese. Which of course meant hiring or establishing a board and going through all kinds of legal machinations and getting charitable status and so on. In the course of that time, a number of very important projects have been started. Some have been completed, some continue on. The STAR project that World Vision helped us with and is Benazir's prime activity. The Food Access project, of course, which we were successful in getting the province of Ontario through the Trillium Foundation to help us with, and McIvan's worked hard on. The work around getting a hub established in this community, the work on FUFC, the stands for Flemington Urban Fair Committee, right? So I just am very pleased to thank Helena for all of those activities, for developing the ministry in the way that she has. I don't see any of my other board members here. There are some to be arriving, maybe caught in traffic, but on behalf of the board, thank you very much. I'd also like to acknowledge two of
Three. Now we've got three.
We now have three. All three of Helena's children, Mary Kate, Matt, and Rachel Lynn. So on behalf of the board, thank you, Helena, and very best wishes in your retirement going forward.
Thank you.
Her professional and her personal life. She told me about her ups and downs, and through this process I got to learn a lot about the individual. So Helena, the mother, the wife, the curling and the shot put athlete, the social justice advocate, the community and spiritual leader, the colleague, and the good friend that she is to many of us here today. So during our chat, I learned that she was born in Toronto but grew up in Parry Sound. She told me that her passion for social justice actually started very, very young. She told me about a time when, as a young teenager, she organized a walkathon in order to raise awareness among her peers and to raise funds for those that were most affected during the Biafra crisis. Then, during her university years, she told me that she was very actively involved in different social justice and humanitarian efforts that came up as a response to the civil war in El Salvador during that period. Something interesting that I learned about Helena was that she actually earned her bachelor's in nursing from McMaster. She completed her nursing outpost in an Aboriginal reserve in British Columbia. And then she later moved on to Hamilton, where she worked in the intensive care unit, where she worked very closely with family and individuals that were struggling and facing really challenging times, people dealing with palliative care and others who were dealing with substance dependence. So very early on, Helena recognized that one of her many strengths was to help those that were most in need. And then she started to contemplate what life would be as a spiritual leader. The one challenge, however, that at the time, the bishop was not very supportive of the idea of women being ordained. That was a very big challenge, but despite of that, she continued and she persisted. She made it very clear to me during our conversation that she was not going to allow others to dictate what she could and what she could not do. And that I know on them. She made up her mind and she went on to study at Trinity College for 3 years, where she studied theology and later on completed her master's in divinity. She shared with me that during those 3 years, she and 2 other women were part of the program, and it was at times very challenging, at times very lonely, and at times did not feel very hopeful for what would happen next. But later on, she took on the opportunity to work as a chaplain at McMaster University as a lay person. And as the saying goes, when opportunity knocks, make sure you answer. And answering her call was exactly what she did. So for the next 2 years of her life, she worked as a chaplain, and she described that era, or that time period, as very welcoming and very exciting, because she got to work directly with the community, and she felt that she was being recognized as others as a spiritual leader. Soon after, in 1982, she became an ordained deacon by Michael Pierce, who was the Bishop of Saskatchewan at the time, and a close and very dear friend to this day. As Helena recalled memories of her past, she vividly remembered this one particular line that the bishop had told her at the time. And he said, "I will take a chance on you." "I will take a chance on you" seems to be words that are very simple yet very powerful, because they energized her spirit and helped her make a decision to take on the next challenge. In 1983, she moved back to southern Saskatchewan, and then she worked with 10 local churches in a geographic area that she showed me that was very, very big. So I can only imagine how much work that was. But she told me that through that time, she was able to do a lot of community engagement initiatives, a lot of community development initiatives, where she was able to create inclusive and welcoming spaces, such as the Food for Life co-op store, which was done in partnership with the local community center at the time. She oversaw her own parish when she moved to the town of Beauport, and that's also in Saskatchewan. And she She was one of the only religious leaders at the time that was agreeable to wanting to go and work in the reserves when other colleagues had refused at the time. She chaired the National Task Force on Homosexuality, which was a body responsible for creating a study guide used by the church officials both nationally and internationally, and later worked with residential school survivors and other church officials to form sacred circles while also becoming a church representative during the residential school hearings.
They were revealing and they were really touching and very, very, very moving. Of course, we all know Reverend Helena is a role model, a pace setter, yes, a pathfinder, dynamic, energetic, always there. Whether it's a new immigrant refugee family from Syria, whether it's a no English speaking Slovak family, whether it's an African struggling family, whether it's a Latino who walks through our door, whether it's a Chinese Mandarin group, as soon as they walk through our door, Reverend Helena is always ready to listen to their story. And she's always there to walk alongside them to achieve their goals. In working with Reverend Helena.
Thank you. I don't know if I should use this or not. I don't think so. So thanks, McIvan. So, you know, I was thinking about how much Flemington Park has changed over the last 10 years. It's really become a vibrant community. It's exciting, and it's a place where a lot of people want to be. And I really attribute a lot of the transformation of Flemington Park. I've seen Flemington Park from when I was a police officer here over 20 years ago. I've seen that transformation, and I really attribute much of that to Helena and the people who have worked with her. And we've heard of all of Helena's accomplishments and the impact that she's had on the community. But what I've been trying to figure out is, well, how has she become so successful at doing what she's done? And to me, it comes down to one word, which is leadership. On the weekend, I was reading a book, and I have to admit, I don't read the Bible, but there was a story from the Bible, and it was the angel of the Lord speaking to Solomon, and in it, he asked Solomon what he needed to become king. Was it riches? Was it fame? Was it power? And Solomon answered, I need an understanding heart. And I think anyone who's come into contact with Helena would agree that the Lord gave her an understanding heart.
Amen.
But you know, it's actually, I was thinking more about it, and I think a lot about you on the weekend.
There you go.
But that's only part of it. And whenever I think of Helena, I always think of her smiling. In fact, I never actually can think of Helena not smiling. And what her smile really is a statement. And that statement is welcome. The premier, and then there's the MP, and then finally you get down to the councillor. So what I do now is always get the mayor to sign it. So Mayor Tory and Councillor Burnside would like to extend a heartfelt congratulations to Reverend Helena Holcroft for your dedication to serving the Flemington community. The passion and commitment you brought to your work has helped empower countless people to achieve their goals. Your leadership as the Executive Director of the Flemington Park Ministry has seen the growth of charitable supports, leaving a memorable impact upon the lives of those you serve. This is very wordy, kind of like the mayor. I congratulate you on your 9 years of involvement at the Flemington Park Ministry and over 35 years of service to the Anglican Church. Thank you for making a difference in our community.
The opening chapter of the Quran, the translation is, Praise be to the Lord of the universe, most compassionate and merciful. The